Alright guys, we're going to look at a couple more of these trig identities, okay? And we're going to start by looking at this guy, which looks a little hideous, if you will, okay? Because all that's supposed to equal 1. Well, remember, a lot of this stuff is algebraic in nature and can be reckoned with as such. And I can see that this is a fourth power in here, and here's second powers. I'm wondering if that's not factorable. So I'm going to ask, and I believe it's going to be seen to be factorable. Okay, it's going to be factorable. Let me see which. Here it is. It's a difference. There you go. And guess what? Here's our good friend again. Cosine squared plus sine squared, which is 1. 1 squared is 1. And that seems to do it on that. Let's take a look at this one now. Okay? 1 minus cosine squared over 1 minus sine times 1 plus sine. Well, this looks like the sine squared. Yes, it is. Okay? And this looks like the sum and difference of binomials, which will go to 1 minus sine squared, okay? 1 minus sine squared, so we're going to multiply that out right there. And 1 minus sine squared, of course, we should know is going to be the cosine squared, and then sine squared over the cosine squared is exactly the tangent squared. Okay, so there's another one to look at and add to your repertoire. Okay, and we'll come back with a couple more. Now here is one that you're going to be tempted to cross multiply, and it really isn't. You're not allowed to do that. This is not an equation. Please don't be tempted to cross multiply. So, okay, there's a little trick we can do here. We can treat this by multiplying by 1. Okay, now either side. Now, of course, 1 comes in infinitely many forms. All right, so I'm going to elect to treat this by multiplying by 1 in the form of 1 plus sine x over itself. So that's what I'm going to do with this guy, and watch what happens, okay? So multiply numerator and denominator by, what did I say we're going to do? 1 plus the sine of x, okay? And let's see that, okay? New variable, it needs a lowercase, I guess. Let's try it that way. Okay, so now I've elected to multiply by 1. It's perfectly legal because it's multiplying by 1. The reason for doing that is because you can see the denominator is going to go to 1 minus sine squared, okay, because that's the sum and difference of binomials, which, of course, 1 minus sine squared is cosine squared. And then we're going to be able to cancel the cosine between the numerator and denominator, simplifying that, and we're back over to the left side. So this one I worked on the right side until it came down to the left side, okay? You could have done the same thing over here. You could have chosen to, with the left side, multiply by 1 minus sine of x over itself, okay? So we're going to look at a couple more. Now this guy matches some of the problems, the likes of which we have on the worksheet, okay? Got to remember algebra. We got to bring these guys together on a common denominator, okay? So we're going to say, let's bring them together on a common denominator. Now, don't forget your fractions. Common denominators mean that the numerators have got to be adjusted too. Now, look what happened going in this problem, okay? I chose the common denominator, which was the product of these two denominators, okay? That was my common denominator. And that's when all else fails, that's what I choose as my common denominator. Now, if I decide that the first fraction is going to be on the denominator, which is the product of these two, I need to adjust the numerator, okay, with the same term. That is the cosecant of x minus 1 times the existing cosine of x. And I did that over here. Now, it looks like it's a little messy, but let's see if we can clean it up, okay? All right. So obviously the reason I did that was cosecant squared minus 1 wants to multiply out as a difference of squares. And hopefully you're getting a little bit more familiar with your terms and recognize, okay, that can be expressed, okay, using the identity, the cotangent squared, okay. So that's the cotangent squared because, because of the identity, the Pythagorean identity. Now, it still looks a bit messy. I know it still looks a bit messy, and okay, and we're going to clean that up in just a minute. Okay, we're back. Now, exploring this problem, okay, what we need to identify is, okay, we need to recognize that we have a common factor upstairs. The common factor is cosine x. So we're going to pull out that common factor, all right? So this is just pulling out the common factor, and it's common to cosecant x minus 1 plus the cosecant x plus 1. Now, obviously, within here, these things can be tidied up. Okay, cosecant x plus cosecant x, they'll combine the two cosecant x, and the minus 1 plus 1 will disappear. So we're gonna try to ask the expert here to simplify that, and that's what we're getting to. So we're getting real close to this, okay? We're getting real close to this, and we could see a couple things going on here, I hope, okay? We could imply that the cotangent is 1 over the tangent, okay? We could work on that, and then invert and multiply that. So we're going to take this down. We're going to invert and multiply that. We're going to, okay, as is stated here, okay? So that now we're down to this, okay? We're down to this, okay? That was basically inverting and multiplying, and you can see we're getting there. We're getting there. It's a little bit tedious, but we're gonna hang in there. We're gonna get this. We're gonna see that the tangent, of course, is going to be defined as the sine over the cosine, and that's going to give us a little bit of cancellation here, okay? A little bit of cancellation, all right? All right, and then we're going to see that the cosecant is 1 over the cosine, or 1 over the sine, and that's going to provide us a little cancellation there, and by George, I think we've got it, okay? At this point, and there we have it, That was a bit of a dog, I will admit, okay? But, you work it out, and we got there. Let's do one more, and then we'll close this video. All right, we're going to look at this guy. Similar to ones that you had in the worksheet, okay? Obviously, they're fractions. We've got to put them together on a common denominator. There's no other denominator other than the product of the two denominators. So think ahead. If the common denominator is sine of x times 1 minus cosine of x, then what's going to happen, okay? We're going to multiply these for the denominators. This first fraction is going to receive the 1 minus cosine x in its numerator. The second fraction is going to receive another sine x from this guy in its denominator. So you'll see that happens right here. There you go, okay? All right, this right here, 1 minus cosine, 1 minus cosine, okay, over sine of x times 1 minus cosine is this modified first fraction, all right? Sine x times sine x over 1 minus cosine sine x is this second modified fraction. So we have got to clean this up, do a little algebra, okay, and see what happens, okay? So let's multiply these guys out, okay? That's going to multiply out by FOIL method, okay? All right. So that's cosine squared minus 2 cosine x plus sine x. I've got over here sine x times sine x, okay? So, and here's our good friend cosine x plus sine squared x. They should come together as 1, all right? So they come together. You can see what they did here is just kind of shuffled those terms around. So here I got the sine squared x plus sine squared x, which we cosine squared x, which we know is 1. So we're tidying up this numerator, and of course all we can do now is we can add those ones together. All right, and there's not a whole lot more we can do there. So let's see what happens downstairs here, okay? Um, well, I can see it already. I can actually see a 2 as a common factor coming out of there. And now I've got a 1 minus cosine x in the numerator and the denominator. They're going to cancel out nicely, okay? And that's going to give us essentially the cosecant, 1 over the sine x is the cosecant x, and we got both sides balanced. So there's another problem to think about doing for yourself there, okay? You can see the steps that went into it. It can be a little burdensome, but stick with it and you should be all right. There you go. Practice on those, and that's the video for tonight.